Yo, what's up with y'all, man? What's good, man? Y'all already know, man. Some stories in hip-hop get remembered, some fade away, and slowly get forgotten, man. Welcome to Remember the Era. Now, today, man, we gonna be talking about one of the wildest stories in hip-hop, Wayne versus Cash Money. Now, to most of us, Wayne wore Cash Money, but behind the fame, millions of dollars, the successful record labels, Wayne was fighting for something that was bigger than money. He was fighting for his freedom. But let's talk about it, man. Before we get started, I want y'all to think about something. Imagine being responsible for making a company millions upon millions of dollars. Imagine helping that company become a household name. Imagine bringing in some of the biggest stars in the world. And after all of that, you still have to go to court and fight for your own music. That's exactly what happened to Lil Wayne. Now, when most people think about Wayne, they think about the music. They think about the Carter 3. They think about Mixtape Wayne. They think about Young Money. They think about Drake, Nicki Minaj. They think about one of the greatest runs in hip-hop history. But behind all of those hit records was a battle that lasted for years. A battle between a rapper and a man that he once called father. And depending on who you ask, it's one of the biggest examples of why every artist needs to understand the business side of music. Because for nearly 20 years, Lil Wayne and Birdman looked inseparable. Birdman wasn't just Wayne's CEO. He wasn't just his label's boss. To Wayne, Birdman was family. And that's what makes this story hurt. To understand how things got so bad, we gotta go all the way back to New Orleans. Back before the fame, before the tattoos, before Cash Money became a powerhouse. Back when Wayne was just a kid from Holly Grove. Now, if you've never heard of Holly Grove, just know it wasn't the easiest place to grow up. Opportunities were limited, money was tight, crime was everywhere, and like a lot of kids growing up in those conditions, Wayne found an escape: music. By the age of 8 years old, he was already writing rhymes. Not pretending to be a rapper, actually writing, actually performing, actually trying to get better. And people around him started noticing. One of those people was a man named Brian Williams, better known as Birdman. Now, at that time, Birdman and his brother Slim was just trying to build a small independent label called Cash Money Records. This wasn't the Cash Money we know today. It wasn't no $1 million deals, no private jets, no platinum plaques covering the wall. It was a local label trying to make noise in New Orleans. But Birdman saw something special in Wayne, and Wayne saw something he desperately needed in Birdman: an opportunity. Eventually, Wayne became the youngest artist associated with Cash Money. Now think about that. A child. Not a teenager at the time, but a child. Most kids at that age, they worried about homework. Wayne was spending time around a record label. And from that point on, his life changed forever. As the years passed, Birdman became more than just a business partner. He became a father figure. Wayne has spoken about it many times. His biological father wasn't around, Birdman was. Birdman gave him guidance. Birdman gave him opportunities. Birdman gave him a place in the industry. And when somebody steps into your life during the most important years, those bonds become harder to break. That's why Wayne stayed loyal for so long, even when other artists did. Eventually, Cash Money struck gold with the Hot Boys: Wayne, Juvenile, BG, and Turk. Together, they created one of the most important groups in Southern hip-hop history. At a time when New York and Los Angeles still dominated the rap conversation, the Hot Boys helped prove that the South had something to say. And people listened. Albums sold, shows got bigger, Cash Money started growing. But even then, something interesting was happening. Artists kept leaving. Juvenile had issues with the label. BG eventually left. Turk had his own problems. One by one, people started separating themselves from Cash Money. But Wayne never did. He stayed. And that loyalty would eventually make him the face of the entire company. By the early 2000s, Wayne was evolving. The music was getting better, the lyrics were sharper, the confidence was growing. Every album felt like a step towards greatness. Then came the Carter, then the Carter 2, and suddenly people started realizing something. This wasn't just another rapper. This was somebody special. Everywhere you went, Wayne was on the radio. Wayne was in the clubs. Wayne was on mixtapes. Wayne was on your friends' burnt CDs. Wayne was on your MySpace page. For a certain generation, it felt almost impossible to escape Lil Wayne. And while Wayne was becoming the biggest rapper on the planet, he was also building something of his own. Young Money. At first, Young Money looked like just another label imprint. Nobody knew what would become of it. And nobody knew that it would become one of the most important labels in modern music. Then Wayne signed Drake. Then signed Nicki Minaj. Two artists who would eventually become global superstars. And that's what things started getting complicated. Because Young Money operated under the Cash Money umbrella, meaning all of the success still flowed through Cash Money. And eventually Wayne started asking questions. Questions about money, questions about ownership, questions about advances, questions about contracts, questions that every successful artist eventually asks. Because when you generate millions and millions of dollars, you want to know exactly where everything is going. According to Wayne, the answers weren't adding up. And the more he looked into things, the more he became frustrated. What had started as a father-son relationship was slowly turning into a business dispute and a very public dispute. And then everything exploded. In 2014, Wayne announced that the Carter 5 was finished. Fans were excited. The album was supposed to be the next chapter in one of hip-hop's greatest careers, but it never came out. At least not then. The release date kept getting pushed back and delayed. And eventually Wayne went public with his frustrations. He told fans that Cash Money was preventing him from releasing the album. Then he said something that shocked the entire industry. He said he felt like a prisoner. Think about how crazy that sounded at the time. The biggest rapper in the world, the face of Cash Money, the artist who helped build the company, calling himself a prisoner. That statement changed everything. Because now the problem wasn't hidden anymore. The world knew. The world, Craig. And only a few months later, Wayne filed a lawsuit against Cash Money, seeking millions of dollars and his release from the label. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about freedom. It was about ownership. It was about control. This was about a man trying to regain possession of the career he spent decades building. The lawsuits dragged on for years. The Carter 5 sat on the shelf. Fans waited. Rumors spread. People picked sides. And all the while, the relationship between Wayne and Birdman continued to deteriorate. What made it so painful wasn't the money. It wasn't the lawsuits. It was the history. Because it wasn't just a random executive. It wasn't a stranger. This was somebody Wayne once considered family. And family breakups always hit harder. Finally, after years of legal battles, both sides reached a settlement. The exact details were never fully made public. But one thing became clear. Wayne was finally free. Not long afterwards, the Carter 5 was released. And just like people expected, the debut was #1. a fitting end to one of the most important chapters in Wayne's career. But the question remains, did Wayne really win? Or did Cash Money already get everything it wanted? Because while Wayne gained freedom, Cash Money had already benefited from decades of his success. And that's why this story still gets talked about today. It's bigger than Wayne, it's bigger than Birdman. It's a reminder that talent alone isn't enough. You have to understand the business. You have to understand ownership. You have to protect what you build. Because in the music industry, handshakes fade, feelings change, relationships end, but contracts remain. And that's a lesson that Wayne had to learn the hard way. But what y'all think, man? Y'all get in the comments, man. Y'all tell me, man, do y'all agree with what Wayne did? Do y'all think Cash Money and Birdman got the best years of Wayne, man? Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in on your boy scene. Till next time, peace.